Hi everybody. It's been a while. I don't think I've seen you guys in a whole month. So we almost got to January, our 2-year anniversary without missing a week. But there's been some things going on. So let's just talk about some of the things that's been going on. First and foremost, just got back from Philadelphia. No, I did not win the $50,000 nor the $20,000 runner-up fee. But everybody in this conference knows who Dr. Dallas is, all about True Pop Popcorn, and they're just so excited about what we're doing. So I guess that's what matters. But you know, all of the judges want to come up to me and say, you're the most confident, you had the best pitch, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like looking them in the eye, and you just didn't want to give me that $50,000. And then there was this kind of look like, we didn't really have any control over that. So it is what it is. But I met some fabulous people, not only in Philadelphia, but a week and a half ago when we were here at the Willard Hotel for the regional competition. Not competition, but the award ceremony. I met some really cool people. And I don't know if I've talked to you since I've come back from Orlando when I went down to see the conference for veterans doing business with the VA. I mean, that's when I really made some connections. I just haven't been able to execute anything because my dad was hospitalized. While I was in Orlando, initially they didn't want to tell me, so I didn't find out until I had been away. He was hospitalized the day that I left. I found out a few days later. And then my good friend Nate, I don't know if I've talked to you guys since Nate, the proprietor of Dynamic Wellness, passed away the same week that I was gone. Suddenly, just I think he had a breathing episode and just... So it's been a lot. And then today I went to the funeral for AJ, Adrian Epps Jr., 25-year-old. Was in a car accident, hit a tree and died. Just an amazing, talented, gifted young genius who most of the people watch grow up in the church. I didn't know him from when he was a young child, but his father is just the kindest person in the world. And a parent should never have to bury their child, especially when the child is that young. The vice principal of Duke Ellington, apparently he went to Duke Ellington in the 9th grade and just skyrocketed from day one. I understand he performed with Patti LaBelle, Herbie Hancock, everybody that was somebody that came to visit the school, just immediately took to his talent. And then it's just been, I mean, I've been to so many funerals in the last month and just, so it's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. So we're always to be, you know, we're in the season of Thanksgiving, but, you know, we talk about it, but gratitude. I went to a wonderful service at Mount Pleasant on Thanksgiving morning. So that was pretty cool. There's been a lot going on. And so look at the simplicity of what we have today, because I was determined to not get into the month of December without coming to you guys. I think the last time that we broadcast was the end of October, if I'm not mistaken. So here we are. We're going to get through this because my videographer has to do something like shortly. It's dark outside. I went to the funeral and then my sister needed me to kind of take over while she was at my dad's, and then that went a little longer than we had anticipated, and then it's raining like cats and dogs, and I didn't even know it was going to rain, so traffic's a nightmare. But here we are. So I'm going to send you guys some updates on some other things that are going on. I'm going to talk about some other things. And Christmas is around the corner. And so you guys, I know a lot of you had sent me messages when you were trying to do things early and I wasn't really ready to do things early. And now we're like, now is the time to get your little, for those of you, these are our fundraiser boxes that we just haven't even had a chance to tell you how to get started on them. The brochures are here, but a lot of you want to know if you can just send these this year for Christmas presents. Absolutely. That was going to be something I was going to pitch to you, and I just didn't get around to it. But this is the box, the beautiful box. We just love the box. It has all our information on it, all our certifications. And so the typical box has 5 snack-sized bags of every flavor. Here they are right here. And they also have our beautiful dry fit colored t-shirts. We have them in white as well as black. We have each flavor in its color. And we have our QR codes on the back so that you can really promote us. And so these make wonderful, you know, those real large stocking. You need a large stocking for this to be your stocking stuffer. And so these are really for our fundraising kits. And you have to get 60 units to do the fundraising wholesale, but you can buy them at what people are going to be selling the fundraiser kits for. And that's just $30 for your family, $35 for the family and friends. The t-shirt is worth $35. And we'll simply put this into a plastic sleeve, slap a USPS label on it. It will be to your loved ones and friends within a day. We can put a Christmas card in there if you like. Today is simple, and I'm going to divide this. Last time that we met, we were talking about how a man cannot be honored in his hometown. So Jesus was rejected in Nazareth. And so now we're going out. So now he's selecting his 12. And I'm not sure what people preach on when they're preaching this section, but this tells me about the Christian life. So in your little description there, I talk about the simplicity of the Christian life, and the simplicity of the Christian life, the simplicity of going out to herald. I mean, that's what we're here to do, is to spread the gospel, you know, to talk about the good news. And that doesn't require flashiness, a whole bunch of charisma, and just where we're going today with the whole preaching scene. It just requires, you know, sometimes I just say, you know, people just need to hear the gospel, because there's a lot going on. In addition to people just dying, there's just a lot of killing, and there's just a lot of meanness, and just, you know, and kindness is just amazing. Sometimes I go places and I just, you know, people remember you when you're kind to them. And it doesn't require a lot to be kind. It just doesn't. I mean, and especially the difference, I guess, too, because there are people that there's this pretentious kindness that's out there. But when there's a genuine kindness that comes from the heart, when your willingness to serve others, when your willingness to be concerned for others is authentic, comes from your heart, that's so much more than people that just do things. You know, it's just so much different. People remember that. And they remember it because there's a connection between the authenticity of you just genuinely being concerned. You know, where's our concern for one another? You know, yeah, so we can talk about that another day too. So let's get into this. So we're in Mark chapter 6, and we're going to just focus on verses 7 through 12. And they're very simple. And so it says, sending out the 12, and I'm reading from the New King James Version. And he called the 12 to himself and began to send them out 2 by 2 and gave them power over unclean spirits. He commanded them to take nothing for their journey except a staff, no bag, no bread, no copper in their money belts, but to wear sandals and not to put on 2 tunics. Also, he said to them, in whatever place you enter a house, stay there till you depart from the place. And whoever will not receive you, nor hear you, when you depart from there, shake off the dust under your feet as a testimony against them. Assuredly, I say to you, it will be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. So they went out and preached that people should repent. And they cast out many demons and anointed with oil many who were sick and healed them. There's a lot going on here. I'm reading slow and I'm thinking because I'm thinking I may have chopped off a bit much here for the time that we have today. So we're going to actually do this in 2 parts. I'm going to start today because in order to really understand what's going on, you have to understand a little bit about the dress of the typical Jew during the period in which Jesus was living, because he tells them to take nothing but your staff, no bag, no bread, no copper in your money belts, but to wear your sandals and not to put on two tunics. So with the tunic, there's the base, and that was basically so simple that it was basically a sack almost. So it was a sack, and it had two cutouts in the arms so that you can actually put your arms through it. And then, of course, you would have your head that would come through. And that was the piece that actually was not cut through, so that you would know that the sack was a new sack. And depending on whether or not it was a male or a female that would wear the sack, then the neckline would be different for one or the other. If the mother had to breastfeed the child in public, so you want the neckline to be a little longer. So you had that. So that was your base garment. And then over that you had what looks like, I forget the name of it, I think it's called Chatalion, something like that. It's a strange name. But to go over the base tunic, you would have what looked like a blanket. It was 7 feet long in width and 4.5 feet in depth. And you would put that over top of the base tunic, where your arms would come through, so that it would act as a blanket at night and a cloak during the day. Then you would have a girdle, or gird, which looks like a belt, and that would be used for putting coins in. It could be used for a money pouch, but it also, or more regularly. See, I haven't been talking in a while. I've been sitting with my dad. You could pull your base up, so that if you needed to work, then your dress, because it looks like a dress, your sack wouldn't be in the way. And also you could use it to put your things in. You could pull your bottom piece up and it would become a pouch, so you can carry things, kind of like a grocery bag or so. So you had those pieces, and then you had your sandals, and he did say to wear sandals. So the sandals basically were just a flat piece of leather or a matted piece of grass, but basically just a piece, a square. And it had 2 holes on the side where you could thread through your sandal strap. That would keep the foot piece on, and that worked as your sandal. And then you had a cloth that was supposedly like 12 by 12, often made out of silk or cotton. But in the hot air regions, it was out of silk, because silk keeps you cool when it's hot and warm when it's cool. And it was long enough so that it could cover the top of the head to keep you from getting sunburned, to come down and cover the ears, and to cover the nap on the back. And it just simply had a string that would come around your ears to hold it in place. So you had your base tunic, you had your cloak, you had your sandals, you had the clip for the hair, for the headpiece. And then you would have, even though you had the girdle that could hold your copper coins, but you also had a money bag. And the money bag was typically made out of a dead animal. Sometimes the head and the feet and stuff would be cut off, but most times they were not. And they served to have extensions to the bag to put your things in. And so in this bag, it was for collecting money. And so that's a part of what we're going to talk about next time, as to why Jesus said this is one of the things that he had suggested that it did not carry. And for 2 reasons, people say, one of which is that it was said that the traveling rabbis before would go into towns, and when they would speak and teach, they would collect money that was supposedly to be given to the temple. But most of them said that it was to make their purses fat. And so you have that still today, where people take advantage of people in terms of giving and where's the money going to. Was something that could have been one of the reasons that Jesus did not want them to carry the bags, but then others feel that more importantly it was because he wanted them to feel like even though they were going into people's homes and villages to teach the gospel, he wanted the sacredness of the synagogue to be how they felt when they approached these people. And when you came into the synagogue, obviously the money bag, the purse, all of these things were left at the door before you went into worship. And so he's saying to go out, and he's giving them the power, anointing them to be able to heal, cast out demons and heal. But he's saying, don't take anything with you. Don't take a bag, don't take any bread, don't take any food. And so this is saying a lot too, because it's saying when we are sent out to do the work of God, we have to believe that whatever situation God places us in, when we're obedient to do the will of God, God will sustain us in those situations. That's the real reason I just wanted to just get this out today, because of so many things that are going on right now. The threat of the economy, I mean, just everything. And when you listen sometimes, when I go to conferences, I've been away for a minute, and you're having conversations with people in the airport, you're having conversations with people here and there, and you have to ask people whether or not they're Christians, you know, because their conversation is not revealing that. And so Jesus is sending out these 12 so that it is unmistakable. These are the people that are going to go out and herald. These are his heralders. These are the people that are going to go out and preach the message. And it's got to be something that differentiates them from everybody else. And one of the things that Jesus is doing is saying that one way people will know that you are my disciples, you are the people that I'm sending out to make a change, is through your simplicity. That you don't come to take anything, but you're coming to give. And because you're giving, it's to be reciprocated. The people are going to take care of you. So hospitality during this particular time was interesting as well, because when strangers came to town, it was not the stranger's responsibility to find a place to stay, to find, you know, eating and shelter, etc. It was the responsibility of the people that lived in the village that the strangers, the visitors were coming to go out and be hospitable to them, to provide for them. And so then also it was the strict Jew that when they did go into villages, and there were villages that there were Gentiles there, they're very strict that if you go into a village and there are Gentiles that live there, the Gentiles are walking upon the sand. They don't even want the sand that has been beneath the foot of a Gentile to enter back into the Jewish home. And so that whole thing about shake the dust from your sandals, which you hear people say and use it so totally out of context, really comes from here. But what Jesus is saying is that you are going, and you're going as my disciples. You're going to do good. You're going to change people. You're going to help as much as you can to heal the sick, to cast out demons. And if people don't receive your love, then all you can do is make sure that you treat them just like the Jew in the strictest sense treats the Gentile that is completely opposite from him. Because you are coming to express, to teach, and to give love. And if that is not accepted, then you need to, it's a defining point. It's not that thing that we talk about when we use this passage out of context. If they don't want to listen to me, or they don't want to agree to me, let's just shake the dust. No. It's in the strictest sense of you giving your all. And so that goes back to that royal command that we treat others as we want to be treated. And so it's easy to be kind. It's easy to just, not do harm to someone. But when you talk about to love as yourself, that's putting yourself in the shoes of the other person. And this is the thing that I always say gets us in trouble. And this is the reason that we can't be as kind as we ought to be, and that people wonder and scratch their heads sometimes when we do tell them that we are Christians, because we never take the time to put ourselves in the shoes of the other people. And so sometimes when we're judging people, sometimes when we're mean to people, when we get into our little divisive groups and things, it's all because a lot of judgmental attitudes, a lot of not necessarily just wanting to understand, but just doing just that, just putting yourself into the shoes of the other person. Even with my dad's going through a lot. They wanted to take his knee from the knee down off, and we made sure that wasn't going to happen. I had to fight a little bit with my brothers, with my sisters initially, just, as soon as they started saying that, I was like, we need to get him out of here. And then when we realized that was the thing to do, and so, and here we are. Oh God, it hasn't been 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks that he's been out of the hospital with both of his legs. And at first it was just open wounds, like this redness, and they're like almost 95% healed now. His leg would have been removed for no reason. And 35% more African Americans have amputations than any other race. And why is that? So anyway, but with him, you would think as long as you still have both of your legs, you ought to be nice and you should not be complaining about anything. But then you have to stop and say, put yourself in that person's shoes. He shouldn't be complaining, but just 3 weeks ago, a month and a half ago, we're screaming at him because he's out there cutting the grass at 88 years old, and, because he couldn't wait for us to do it. So you take somebody that's been independent for all of their life, strong for all of their life, 88, done all the right things in life because he's never been hospitalized, never been sick, and all of a sudden you can't do the way that you can't go anywhere on your own, you can't get out of the bed like you want to get out of the bed, you're totally dependent on people to a certain degree for a moment, even if it's just for a moment, And so you put yourself in their shoes and you think how frustrating that must be. And then you have a little bit more sympathy and a little bit more patience and tolerance with, your viewpoint of him just having both of his legs. And so when we do that, see how it can diffuse a situation that can get out of control just by taking a moment back. And so Jesus is teaching us that it's a simple, and that comes to the ability to be able to do that also comes from the simplicity. Because here's the other piece to this. Now, this is to the disciples in that particular time, but the living word of God is applicable. Everything that we read, we have to see how this translates to us in this life today, because that is what the word was written for us and everything else that's going on with us today. And so when we're looking at this, we have to start saying that, how does that apply to today? It applies to today because it's raining cats and dogs. A lot of people won't go out and maybe even come to a funeral on a day where it's raining because the hair is not going to be right, or the shoes might get wet, or you're not going to be able to do whatever. So many things. He says, don't worry about that. Don't take any of that. Or what am I going to eat? Or what am I going to whatever? Sometimes the things that we worry about are major distractions from the things that we're supposed to be focused on. And the things that we're supposed to be focused on, every day we should have felt like someone was introduced to Jesus by being in our presence. Does that mean that we open up our Bible and read scripture to them? No. This is the living word of God. The living God lives in us. And so people ought to be able to come into our presence and feel like they've been with Jesus. And a lot of times that just can't happen because there's so much going on with us, you know? And when we're distracted by the way that we look or what we have and what we don't have or what somebody else has, it keeps us from being able to see clearly the opportunities that Jesus presents us with on a regular basis to be kind to others, to be able to serve others, because we're so focused on ourselves and the things that we want. It's really simple. And I'm just noticing this a whole lot here lately. And I think that until the church gets back to a place where we're just preaching the simplicity of the God, even with this passage, you can miss all of this in your zeal to make this passage more than what it really is. You know, you listen to some preaching today and it's like, wow, how did you get that out of that? You know what I mean? Because it's all about shining the light on us and letting people believe that we're so smart or we're so whatever, and we just miss what needs to be said. Remember, Jesus spoke and taught in parables all the time so that people could get the message, so he could get their attention. You can only get their attention if you take people where they are, you give them what they understand. Then he held on to their attention, but more importantly, he was able to present the information in a manner in which they could use it in their lives. It was practical. And too many times today, people will leave out of the church and they are clueless as to how to take that passage and integrate it into their lives where it is making a difference in the lives of others. And so it's just getting back to simplicity. We're going to finish this because there's some other stuff going on here that we need to talk about. But Jesus was telling them how to go out, and that's important. Go out with no brick. Don't take anything because I have you, because you're doing the work of the Lord. And that's what we really want to remember and focus on, because as things are going to get tricky over the next year, you coming into a new election. I mean, that's it. And look at how things are looking. You know, so where's your faith going to be? Where's your assurance and confidence going to be? It can't be in who's in the White House, regardless of which party is there. It's too shaky. Look at all the wars that are coming up and sprouting up around the world, and who's aligning themselves with other people. You gotta be anchored in God. And when you're anchored in God, you just don't have to worry about things. You have that assurance and confidence that all is going to be well, because I'm doing the work of the Lord and I'm doing it as he has instructed me to do it, in simplicity. And so he says, take nothing out with you. But what I want to talk about, deviate here for just a few minutes, because we didn't come to you prepared to do anything else, but we have to always be prepared. And so whenever I go away, I love when I drive. So I drove to Philadelphia. I had to fly to Orlando. And we'll talk about the flying thing another day too. I finally got my landing thing together, but now my instructor is gone, so I need a new flight instructor. But we're going to get there. And so when I can drive, I'm happier because I can go places and I know I'm going to be okay in terms of what I need to eat. And it is just amazing when you go places that you're someplace for a conference for 3 or 4 days. And so if you order the vegetarian box, you know, when you have the breakout sessions, so you get your box and you're all excited. It's a vegetarian box or it's a vegan box. And you're thinking you're going to have some fabulous salad or something. You're usually going to get a 2-inch piece of white bread with a 1-inch slice of cheese if it's vegetarian. And then a slice of tomato and lettuce. And they call that a vegetarian sandwich. And then they give you a chocolate chip cookie and a bag of Lay's potato chips. Seriously, we have to get better. We have to do better. We have to get true popcorn in these little hotel lunch boxes. And so you have that. And then if they do have salad along with the chicken is served at every single buffet, every single reception, every single whatever. Chicken this, chicken that, chicken 15 ways over. It's ridiculous. And nothing green. And then if they do have salad, that is all it is. It's some iceberg lettuce and not even a tomato and onion, but just some iceberg lettuce, and what else may they have in there? Lost carrot. It's just ridiculous. I mean, if you were trying to change a leaf, if you'd come to one of my lectures and I'm teaching you how to do these things and you have to go to these conferences, you're going to just be lost. But luckily, every hotel has a refrigerator. And if not, you can take your little cooler boxes because every hotel has an ice vending machine. And so these are the types of things that I have to take with me when I travel. I usually have a nice cool pack. And so you take fruit. You can always take fruit. Fruit is easy. So I had this week, I just had some things left over because I didn't eat everything. So you always want to have more than not. And that's why it's great when you drive, because you just fill up this trunk with all your great things. So you take a couple of pears and apples. You always have bananas, apples, pears, and tangerines. These are things that you can consume in just a couple of minutes before you go down to the early morning breakfast, getting ready to start on the sessions for the day. And then nuts and seeds. So these are goju berries, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, mulberries, raisins, cranberries, and then I have some cashews and some walnuts that I'll put in the individual bags. So I buy all of these separate, and then I mix them and put them in these containers. Then I'll pour enough into a Ziploc bag, and then I'll add some cashews, some walnuts, and some almonds. And so that's really, if no one's feeding you, you can survive off of nuts and seeds and a couple of pieces of fruit. You really don't need a whole lot else. It's a great time to fast and clean out the body. I always have juices, and next week we're going to show you, I've been doing a little bit more of my old juices. As I was telling my story about when I had tuberculosis and I switched. This is one of my favorite juices. It's got fresh garlic in it, celery, cucumbers, all colored peppers, especially jalapeno peppers, red and green peppers, yellow peppers, a tad bit of pink sea salt, and lemon juice. Now, I usually can put this into the blender, and so you'll see that it's got some substance to it. So if you put it into a pot and just let it simmer, it makes a nice like veggie soup. You can drink it as it is, but depending on what you're trying to do with your body and how well or not you are, you might want to strain it, and then it's just going to be very thin and liquidy instead of having the extra fiber. Because when you put it in a blender, you're going to get more fiber. When you put it in a juicer, you're extracting the liquid from the fiber, and when you just strain it, you're getting a little more of the fiber than you would get if you just juiced it. I do the same things. For a long time, I wouldn't put carrots in the blender. But with the Blendtec, commercial Blendtec, it tends to do okay. So this is carrot juice with apples and ginger. And so I took maybe 4 bottles of each with me. And so I was good. I always have pistachios. These are some raw wraps. They're power wraps. They kind of remind you of jerk a little bit, but they're really good. They have nutritional yeast, sunflower seeds, and then they're wrapped in a seaweed wrap for the most part, but they're completely raw. This one's Texas barbecue, but my favorite is a jalapeno cheese, and that's just got lots of nutritional yeast and then some jalapeno in it. So you can get these at most health food stores. I always take an avocado, because when I do travel, and here lately when the salads just are never what I need them to be, you can go to Trader Joe's and get the salads in a bag where you can get a variety. A lot of times I'll get the cabbage that's chopped up, red cabbage, white cabbage, and then they'll have little plastic packets in there. It may have a handful of pistachios, a handful of some Parmesan cheese if that's what you want, or some corn chips. You know, they'll have like 2 or 3 little plastic things which you can pick and choose what you want to put. But for me, usually it's a nice, like 3 serving sizes of kale and cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower all chopped up nicely. And then they'll have a vinaigrette or some type. You pay attention to the dressings because some of them are better than others. And so you'll get the hang of it because they have tons of varieties at Trader Joe's, and they're $4. So, you take 2 or 3 of those, and then I always want to add avocado to whatever I'm doing, and you can just take your knife with you. Now, the sweet potato and the yams, I mean, these are perfect. And in most hotels, you can get a microwave, and you just kind of wash it off. I had this because I was at my dad's, and when I'm dealing with him sometimes, I just wash this, pop it into the microwave for a few minutes, slice it, put some honey on it with some cinnamon, and you're good to go. And just don't ever leave home without True Pop popcorn. So when you're traveling in the car, you can take the big bags. When you're traveling on the plane, people are always asking me when I was in Orlando and a few other places, are you're not hungry? Yeah, I haven't seen you eating. Trust me, don't ever worry about me, because I carry 1 or 2 black suits with 3 or 4 shirts, and I'm good. Half of my suitcase are dried nuts and seeds. So when if I'm not driving, that's what my suitcase is filled with. And I usually stick at least 4 or 5 bags of True Pop popcorn. So I know that's a little watered down, but considering that some people just get lost. They say that's when they gain weight. They've been traveling. This is what you do. You have to become intentional. Jesus sent them out and says, do not take this, do not take this, do take this, do this, cast out the demons, do this, heal the sick, do this, bring people to repent. He told you exactly what to do. So when you're going to be traveling, you know what your choices are. They suck. And you can gain at 15, 20 pounds easy. So here's something interesting. So whenever I travel, I take my sneakers, a couple of outfits, and I usually go to the gym 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Most conference stuff starts at 8:30. That's if you're eating the stuff. And I could work out naked in the gym. There's never anybody in the gym but me. So I'm in Orlando for the military conference, doing business with VA. I went to the gym. It was 4:30, 5 o'clock. Opened the gym door, and we're at the Gaylords, Orlando Gaylords. So huge. So it's probably, most gyms you go to in the hotel, they've got 2 treadmills, workout bench, and that's it. So they must have had at least 50 treadmills, 50 stationary bikes. I opened the door, the place was packed. I was like, whoa. So you have to remember what you're dealing with. Retired colonels, retired pilots, people that have decided to go, entrepreneurs that are military people. And so though there were about 200 people in the gym at 4:30 in the morning, let's keep things in perspective. There were 4,000 people at the conference. And so, relatively speaking, compared to the other conferences you go to where no one's in the hotel, and then you've got 4,000 people at a conference, and you've got 200 people. And so these are the people, like my dad, that are going to live to be 88 and never have any health issues until then, because they have been intentional all their lives about making sure that you do this. It becomes a lifestyle. So what difference does it make if you're out of town? If you are acclimated, your body is accustomed to doing this. You really can't stop doing. That's when you get sick, is when you stop doing the things that you've been doing for so long. That's the other piece to it. It's like, you can't cut it out if you want to. So you just do things. You don't have to have a full-blown 2-hour workout like you would normally have here, but just go to the gym, get on the treadmill for 20, 30 minutes, and just, you spend that time reading your Facebook messages and stuff. So just being intentional. Take some foods with you. That doesn't mean that you can't have dinner with the people that are there. You just won't eat as much as you probably would have eaten because you have a bag of nuts in your pocketbook that you've been nibbling on, or some that you're going to go eat afterwards. I was eating my salad after I mingled with people all evening. So you just want to do things, or else you're going to find yourself in trouble. And so keep it simple. Doesn't have to be complicated. You just keep it simple. Worst case scenario, you can go to any hotel, call an Uber, go to the closest Whole Foods or whatever is nearby, get you some things while you're there if you don't want to put it in your suitcase or put it in your trunk, and just go that way. But I like to know what I'm having and my own stuff, so I'm good. I hope this has been helpful. It's been so good to be back with you guys. There's so much that we need to talk about, so I'm going to be doing some little short videos. And I've got to send out some newsletters in the next couple of days as well. I had a lot on my plate for the last 6 weeks. So finally things are just, I've got some things coming up in the next week or so, but things are calming down a bit, so we'll be able to bring you up to date and just help you respond to some of your emails and your messages that I had just like totally not had an opportunity to do. So enjoy your weekend. Take care of you. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, dallas@lifebydallas.com. Take care.